What's up, Evelyn fam? Welcome back to the channel. I want to give a quick shout out to my mother because she gave me the idea for this case and she actually gave me some details that she remembered from this case. So today we are going to be talking about the serial killer, Richard Grissom Jr. This case is specifically disturbing to me because it actually took place in Overland Park in Lenexa, Kansas, in that area, which actually isn't too far from where I currently am and where I grew up. It's also disturbing because it makes it a little disturbing because he managed to basically break into three women's apartment without them knowing. Some specific dates that we need to remember are 1976, 1989, and 1990. So some minor details that we need before I just get into the article that I have written down. Richard Grissom Jr. was a paint contractor. Keep this in mind because it is very, very, very important. It took place in the Johnson County area. He was tried in Johnson County, and it was the first case in Johnson County where they were able to convict a killer without the bodies of the victims. So the victims are Joan Marie Butler, 24, of Overland Park, Christine Rush, 22, of Lenexa, and then her roommate, Teresa Brown, who was also 22 and also from Lenexa. So the charges he received were 3 counts of first-degree murder. He was also found guilty of 1 count of aggravated kidnapping, 4 counts of robbery, 1 count of aggravated burglary, and 2 counts of theft. So basically, the sentencing he received for this case that we will be talking about was 4 life sentences. So, and the article that I pulled up said that it would be 105 years before his case would be brought to a parole board. So basically, he got a life sentence for this case. So some details about the victims. They were all in their early 20s, as I said before, 24 and 2 22-year-olds. They were single and attractive, and they all lived in apartments that Grissom worked in. And sadly, to this day, their remains have never been found. Honestly, kind of sad. I mean, no closure for the families. The girls vanished from their apartments with no sign of a struggle, no forced entry, and they vanished at night. So this article that I pulled up, I'm going to just read a little bit from it. So they were, the crimes occurred very close to Overland Park, Kansas. Bank receipts and other things from the victims were found near an abandoned farmhouse in the area. I wonder where that is. The 3 disappeared over the course of a month, causing terror in the state. So on one of the articles that I researched, it happened around June of 1989, so during the summer basically. Each woman was abducted from her apartment, and one was even in the middle of eating a piece of toast. At a glance, he seemed like the type of guy that women would love to talk to. He was attractive, charming, charismatic, and yeah, but he had a dark past that most people did not know about. When Grissom was only 16 years old, he murdered an elderly woman named Hazel Meeker in Lansing, Kansas. So the article doesn't go into much detail about it, but basically, he tied her to a chair and stabbed her with a railroad spike, which, if you guys don't know what a railroad spike is, and then, so that's what it looks like. There were footsteps in the snow leading away from the crime scene, and they quickly arrested him. He was sent away to the Kansas Juvenile Detention Facility and got out in 1980 at 19 years old. So when the crimes took place, Grissom was 28, so it was 9 years later. He was running his own painting and maintenance company in the Kansas City area. He was also on parole, because he had just been released from prison again just the previous summer for burglary and theft. So, yeah, this guy was someone you didn't want to mess with. He had many aliases. His new job, painting and maintenance, was strategic for him because it gave him access to master keys and apartment complexes all over Kansas City area. So that's Kansas City, Lenexa, Overland Park, all of that. And then they talk a little bit about each victim, so we'll go through that. June 18th, Joan Butler, who was the first victim, went out for a night in the town in Kansas City area. Before she returned to her apartment in Overland Park, she was never seen again. On June 19th, in the early hours, Butler's ATM card was used to make withdrawals at different banks in Kansas City. Her rental car was also gone. So her family and police were baffled by her disappearance. A week later, her car was spotted in Lawrence, which is about 35 miles from Overland Park. Lawrence police officer kept an eye on the car until a man approached and opened the trunk of the vehicle. The man was ID'd as Grissom. When he was asked for an ID, he ran away. Grissom's prints were all over the vehicle, and he had left his wallet and his checkbook inside. Inside the car, police found a drop of Joan Butler's blood. Grissom, now on the run, got a friend to give him a ride back to the Kansas City area, and then the next morning, 2 more women disappeared. Roommates Teresa Brown and Christine Rush, both 22. They lived together in Lenexa, Kansas, where Grissom had done some work. As similarly to Joan Butler, Miss Rush's bank accounts were drained. A haunting photograph from a security camera showed Rush looking disheveled, wearing sunglasses, and a large bruise on her face, withdrawing money from an ATM. This is the last known sighting. Grissom was immediately suspected in these disappearances as well. So that's pretty freaking scary. I mean, being abducted out of your own home and then being forced to take money out of your banking account and then being killed and having your body dumped somewhere to the day where police can't even find it. Yeah, that's pretty terrifying. A maintenance man saw a man at an apartment. 2 days later, a maintenance man at an apartment complex just over the state line in Missouri saw someone looking under a stairwell. It was obviously Grissom, and he fled the scene when he was spotted. While attempting to leave quickly, Grissom left his car behind in the apartment complex's parking lot. Police searched it and found a treasure of evidence linking Grissom to the missing women, including IDs and keys. The car also contained 5 birth certificates and official government papers. Seals, not papers. A massive manhunt went underway all over Kansas City looking for him, but none of them were for Grissom or the victims, but none of them were to be found anywhere. Based on his criminal past, and his cunning nature, police knew they were up against an experienced criminal. Nearly 2 weeks passed, and there was no sign of Grissom or his victims. Then, on July 7th, Grissom was arrested in Texas at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. He was supposed to meet a young woman from his past at the airport that day, but she tipped off the police, leading to his capture. People in the Kansas City area breathed a sigh of relief, but one question remained. Where were Joan Butler, Teresa Brown, and Christine Rush? Sadly, that question has never been answered, as their bodies have never been found. Grissom offered vague answers about the woman during his interrogation. He said, "They're not dead," and then later said, "Well, they probably are by now." Grissom also told interrogators he will dig them up. He added, everything happened in Kansas and nothing would be found in Missouri. Grissom knew Missouri had the death penalty, but Kansas did not. Paul Morrison, the man who ended up prosecuting Grissom, called the killer extremely intelligent, the type who could sell ice to Eskimos. In the end, Grissom admitted to no specifics. Authorities searched farmland and woods, even draining ponds all over the Kansas City in hopes of finding the missing women. No trace of Butler, Brown, or Rush were ever found. That sucks. Like, straight up. In the fall of 1990, Grissom was tried for the women's murders, the first murder trial in the history of Johnson County to take place without a body. Despite the missing bodies, the mountain of evidence resulted in a guilty verdict and a life sentence for Grissom. Today, he is 55 years old and will remain in prison for the rest of his life. So at the time of this article, which I think was like in 2016 or something, he was 55. So let's see. That was 4 years ago, so now he'll be 59 years old. The Grissom shack is long gone, torn down, and replaced by a new apartment, replaced by new apartment complexes. But the memory of Richard Grissom, his victims, still looms large for the people of Kansas City who lived in Kansas City in 1989. So, I feel like, he was obviously, there was evidence against him that said that he did this, and so he got what he deserved. I just feel like he maybe should have given the family closure, because I did a bunch of research on this case, and people even now are still asking, where are their bodies? Like, on posts about this, on podcasts about this, I have seen comments from people who knew these people personally, or knew them somehow, or just heard the case, and they all wonder what happened to the bodies. So that is all for today. I will post a link to the description of the article that I used. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow with my next video. It's gonna be a good one. Bye.